Hi everybody, welcome to my backyard. I've recorded this little simple webcast so many times you wouldn't believe it. So I've now got to a point where I'm almost a bit frustrated with myself, so I'm just going to skip through it, figuring you can rewind it, pause it, play it again, and you can also make use of flow. Okay, sitting over here on this side of the screen, you can see a copy of the template that you're going to be completing for the final assignment. It's a theoretical piece. It's not a real-world teacher lesson plan. It's designed on purpose to help you draw upon what you already know and can do, and also to guide you through a series of questions to justify and explain the choices that you're making in relation to the use of technology, particularly for knowledge construction within your class. You might be working with somebody else on this unit of work, and if you were, sure, I would expect it maybe to cut across a couple of curricular areas intently, or I might expect it to be running over a longer period of time. As I said, its aim is to recognise that you are all highly skilled, competent teachers who know your content and how to teach it. This might even be a reworking of a successful lesson or an unsuccessful lesson that you've used in the past. It might even make use of some of the activities you've engaged in during your Masters, and that's all completely fine. Let's have a quick wander through it, and I'll be intentionally quick with this. This is the template. Regular characters on the front. Give your learning unit a really catchy, interesting title. Indicate the year level or levels appropriate, and the learning area. Make sure it's something that sits over here. You can see on the other side of the screen, somewhere in the Australian curriculum. It doesn't matter if it's already been endorsed or if it's waiting final endorsement. Okay, I'm perfectly happy with that. Duration, we're probably talking 5 lessons as part of the overview, and then a single lesson from somewhere in that sequence for you to flesh out in more detail. Now, I do want you to make some connections with the AITSL Teacher Standard, so this unit of work will show what about you. Okay, will it show, if we skip down here, will it show how well you engage in professional learning? Will it show how, let's skip up the page, will it show something about your ability to assess, provide feedback and reporting? Ethical use of ICT, maybe? Is it about this? Number 4. So I don't want you to cover all of them, but have a look through and say to me that, yeah, I think this unit of work shows 3, professional practice, that I am highly accomplished, and here's the evidence for that. There are illustrations available at the aitsl.edu.au page. You can see that. You click on those and you'll get some evidence around those. Okay, you can extend the template. Okay, there's not enough room. Just push it out further and further. It's just important that you are able to communicate clearly what it is that you know, can do and understand around learning design with a focus on 21st century skill development. Okay, the second page is directing you a little bit around what is it that the teacher and the student are going to be using as part of this series of lessons. Okay, and there's a tip there to have a look at page 20 of the ITL research, findings and implications. As a teacher, how does your integration of ICT assist you to extend and personalise? Again, there's a reference for you there. And we know that extended learning, what does that mean? Personalised learning, what does that mean? Combined with skilled use of ICT by both the teacher and the students are the conditions for innovative teaching. Now I want you to make the connections with the ICT capability, and I'm on purpose not being prescriptive there. This is for you to construct your own understanding. It's that paper material floating around there again. Here's a couple of tips. I go over to the ICT capability. I might have a look in the learning continuum and see where that tells a story of my unit of work, where I can find the connection there based around the year level or levels that I'm teaching. The other option is that I might look particularly at the organising elements and make a connection there. So let's say, here we go, we'll just let's say investigating with ICT was the area. By the end of year 2, students are going to be able to do this, or this unit of work is particularly going to pick up this, and you can get examples of that in greater detail. I'm not going into too much detail, I know, that's intentionally. The other thing is to look at the organising elements themselves and say, you know, for these 5 units, it's particularly around creating with ICT, and you know, I can copy out and reword some of that. And you know, obviously tidy up the layout and the font and so on, but you get the idea, because this 5 pieces of work is all around knowledge construction, so it's all going to be around that. Again, this is for you to make the connection. Now, we move into the broad overview plan for these 5 units of work. So this is just an organising page that I've put together. It won't be perfect. You're the skilled experts in learning design. What I'm after is just that you're clear about how you've navigated the australiancurriculum.edu to make sure that the work that we're choosing and using certainly fits in with that framework, but it doesn't need to be limited by it. Okay, so let's just have a look here. We've got the strand content descriptor, maybe some more here. If you don't need it, delete it. Relevant links to year level description and achievement standard. So let's just get our head around that. So my unit of work is going to be on science. I'm going to have a look at the curriculum. You'll notice at the top here I can show level descriptions, content descriptions, and achievement standards. Right? It looks pretty empty now, right? And if I want a year level description, well, here we go. There's a year level description. If I want to have a look at the achievement standards, there they are. Okay? Pretty easy. If I want to see the content descriptor, there it is. Okay, there's the content descriptor. These are the strands. That one, that one, that one. These are the sub-strands: biological science, chemical science, earth and space science, physical science. So my strand, let's say for example with science, might be science understanding chemical sciences. Yep. My content descriptor might be this. Okay. My year level descriptor, well, this is particularly for, just clicking in here. My year level descriptor is sitting in here, and my achievement standard has now been added down here. Clear as mud? Great, and the other part on the other side is to do with the elaboration, so let's have a quick look at that. I'll just reduce that down and bump it over to the left. Great. So again, if I was focusing in on year 2, science understanding, biological science, if I click this little link here, you'll get additional details, and you can see that's where the elaborations are. They're sort of the granular nitty-gritty things. In another example, questioning and predicting, if I click here, these are the elaborations, okay, and they can be popped over this side of the screen. Again, all I can say is have a crack at that, chat to one another about it, and we'll have time to talk about it as well. Okay, the next section, a bit of an extra full stop there, get rid of that. Okay, so the next part, reasonably easy page, knowledge construction and skilled use of ICT emphasis. So what are we after here? How will learners build the knowledge and the concepts and use ICT for learning? And I've got some details here about remember to consider in planning. How will you find out what the learners already know? These can be activities that happen outside of class. You can be creating flipped classroom videos. The students can be engaging in providing information back. You don't need to be limited by reality. If you want to imagine the perfect world where there wasn't an issue with access or accessibility issues, you want to suggest that there's an Edmodo group set up for students to post questions, by all means. What I want you to, and you can get rid of all of my text here, they're just tips for you. I've asked you to refer to the specific skills identified in the Australian curriculum content descriptors and specific elements of creative and critical thinking and the ICT general capability. So this is really around what are the learners going to actually be doing in this unit of work, which will really develop knowledge construction. And you can see I've got some ideas there just in dot point. What are going to be some of the key questions that you might ask which will scaffold knowledge construction? And I've put some ideas in there. And the Martin Westwell article that you have, I think I made a mistake in talking about the page number. I'm pretty sure it's about page 73, where Martin talks about learning process element, and he talks about knowledge, he talks about concepts, and I think you'll find, and ideas, and you'll find within there, I think it's on page 95, some really good stuff about questioning. That's page 95 of Mark, sorry, is it Martin Westwell or Mark? I must check that. Okay. So I think I've covered that one. So page 73 and page 95, some great stuff on scaffolding questions. Just jot those down. Okay, we've got a page around assessment. So how will you gather evidence of achievement? So some suggestions there. Anything you're not sure of, you could Bing it up or Google it up. And in terms of the assessment task that may occur at the end or even during the unit of work, all I want you to do is just to describe it. So what is it that the students are going to do to show that they've achieved those learning intentions described at the start of the unit? What is the success criteria? Are you going to use a rubric or some sort of checklist, or how is it you're going to be able to sharpen your focus? If you're using any formative strategies, they're engaged in self-assessment, or there's even live feedback through an online tool, or live peer feedback happening within a online site, by all means jot that down as well. So, what are the 5 lessons? I've got a suggestion of looking at stages of inquiry that might help you. So this is just, it can be just dot point, what's happening in each of these lessons, what are the key bits. Important, I say here, I'm happy to accept if you've got another planning overview, excellent. I've put a suggestion here about maybe, TPAC might help you. I'm just keeping an eye on my clock there. Then you take out one lesson. And this is lesson 2 from a sequence of 5. Here's what the goals are for my lesson today. Here are the key elements of this learning activity. Here's how ICT for knowledge construction fits in with this, ICT for learning and knowledge construction. Here's what I'll know is happening to indicate the students are being successful. And then we've got a really simple lesson plan template. Okay, so it's got a tuning in, and activate